Hello and welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Dillon and Clay from Sacramento, California, and they have done a couple of really great things. I mean, it started out with you're going to love the story of it, but so I won't tell the story here, but they started out with doing something to support a friend that really got a lot of traction. And now they are trying to help people with cancer knock things off their bucket list and document those journeys. And so we're trying to figure out now how to model that, how to set something like that up so that they can do it full time. And we actually, while I was on the phone with them, we had I texted my friend Nick Nanton, who's an 11 times Emmy winning movie documentary producer director, who jumped on the call with us to do some brainstorming with these guys at the end. So it's a little longer episode than we normally have, but I think that you'll get a lot out of the conversation to guide how to really think about setting up something new so that you get a context and a structure for it that is sustainable. So here we go.
Dillon Hill.
Hi, Dean. How you doing?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Where are you calling in from?
From Sacramento, California.
Sacramento, early morning for you. I love it.
Yep.
There we go. Well, I'm excited to chat here. I got a chance to look at some of the trailers and the videos that you guys are doing, and I'm pretty excited to hear all about it. So
awesome, perfect. And Clay just joined as well.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
I'm on the call. So hey, Dean.
Hey, how are you?
Sorry to just pop in. Good. How are you?
Yeah, awesome. So I want to hear the whole story. So we got a whole hour here to brainstorm. So maybe we could start and tell the story here, so we can get up to where we are.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess to start, long story short, we are making a crowdfunded video series, Clay and I, where that essentially follows our attempt to help cancer patients with their bucket lists, using the idea of sort of social media and influencers and viral and all that fun stuff to try and help people in an interesting way. And that's pretty much what we do. I think the history of why we started is pretty significant. We actually started because our friend was re-diagnosed with cancer. We'd known him since elementary school, and in 2017, the doctors told him that he had a year to live, which was really hard for us. And we were kind of thrust into this situation where we realized that we have limited time together. And Clay and I, we both dropped what we were doing, college for myself and his job for Clay. And we just made a quick little video and basically explained like our experience with our friend and what he meant to us and what we meant to him. And we mentioned a couple bucket list items, and we threw together a Squarespace site and said, hey, we have this bucket list, we want to achieve it. And we put that video out there. And it went super duper viral. We had no following to start, but within the first day, it had 300,000 views. And we were getting messages from tens of thousands of people saying, hey, I work here, I can make this bucket list item possible for you. Or my brother does this, he can help you here. And yeah, I mean, we did incredible things. And very quickly, that initial video on YouTube had kind of spawned out into all the sort of affiliate reposting Facebook pages and things like that. And very quickly, we had reached over 50 million views. And at this point, that initial story has over 100 million views across a bunch of different channels, other pages, things like that.
Wow.
It was incredible. And, because of that, we were able to do a lot of interesting things on our bucket list. We actually went on a tour of SpaceX. We met Danny DeVito. Just incredible things that we never would have imagined we could achieve people made possible for us, which was, I mean, as you can imagine, it was mind blowing. We had limited time with our friend, and the internet made it incredible for us. And then, so we were doing all these really cool things, obvious things we're very proud of, and saying that is an understatement. It was incredible. But one of the really important things to us was number 4 on our bucket list, which was to break a world record. And we set out to break the world record for the most bone marrow donor signups. Our friend had leukemia, and bone marrow was sort of the organ he needed to overcome that. And so we decided it's genetically based. So basically, the more people we get to join, the more likely it is that he finds a match. And so we decided, okay, we're going to increase our chances. And we set out to break that world record. We came up with something called #lemons for leukemia. The idea being, when life hands you lemons, how do you make the lemonade? Yeah. So we encourage all of our viewers to make lemonade in the most creative way possible. And basically that campaign was around us trying to get the most amount of bone marrow donor signups. And we did. On one single day, we had 3,400 people sign up for the registry. In total, we had 11,000 people sign up throughout the entirety of our video series with our friend.
Yes.
And after we had done that world record attempt, number 4 on our bucket list, one of the people that had actually seen our videos and decided to sign up because of those, we still don't know who it is actually, but someone from Europe, they were a match for our friend, and they essentially saved his life. So
oh my goodness!
It's kind of weird for us to say, but our YouTube subscribers, saved our best friend's life.
Right.
And all the implications of that, and all the other things that we were able to do, and essentially the internet made life-changing.
What a great outcome! What a great outcome! He gets to do all his bucket list stuff and save his life. It's so great.
Right. Yeah, and he's completed his treatment, and he's doing as good as he possibly could be. Clay and myself, we were mind blown by that situation, and we decided we wanted to continue doing this. We aren't filmmakers by any means. We're not producers, anything like that. We're just two guys that are really passionate, about this because.
So how did you guys figure it out? Because you sure look like filmmakers to me. In this, did somebody else shoot these things, or do you?
We had some experience in that, a lot of people our age kind of just dabble with photography and video and stuff.
Yeah, just native. Right.
Yeah, and we learned very quickly a lot of bad videos that people didn't see, that sort of thing. And so we pretty much just got started. The problem that we're in now is our history supersedes what we're doing now. A lot of people, when we tell them the story, obviously the fact that we started this with our friend, I dropped out of college, that hugely overshadows what we're doing now. And then even the fact that, when we're talking to strangers, they seem really motivated by the idea that we're helping cancer patients. And then really to us, the important thing is these YouTube videos and our videos, and they kind of don't necessarily latch onto that is another problem we have. We're talking to people, whether that's through social media or in person, and say, wow, that's really awesome that you're doing that. And those sort of sympathies and people that kind of say they're really interested and, in some ways act interested, but not in the central way that we need. And then the way that's really important for us to be able to keep doing this is we are crowdfunded. So I guess sort of, looking at this business model, the business model is monthly subscriptions. We used to use Patreon for that, and now we have our own on-site subscriptions on our website. And then there's some perks associated with that. And so I guess as far as our videos go, our goal is to, we would love to be in a situation where we can just go out and do bucket list items. But really we're in a position where we're kind of really scrappy right now. So half of our series is doing things to be able to make them possible for cancer patients. So an example that we've been playing around with now, we're helping a young boy here in our town who has stage 4 cancer, and he wants to meet Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We had the idea, we haven't executed it yet, but the idea of building a WWE ring in our backyard and making sort of a video sketch around that, and using that to bring awareness to the fact that he wants to meet The Rock. And that's some of the stuff we've done in the past that worked with our friend. now these sort of things, they aren't generally as successful because our audience is much smaller, but that's still the general concept of what we want to do.
I gotcha. So part of this, like you're in, I get it that you're in a situation where it's this intersection, right? Of is it a charity type of situation? Is it a business that you're running, or is it crowdfunded? It's a little bit, there's a lot of gray in it, right? Like it's not so black and white that you're doing this as a business, but I understand that you've got to have the money to continue to do it. But what's your priority in it? I mean, what is it that you are, how do you look at it? Are you looking at it as a new business model, or are you looking at it as a charity or a nonprofit, or what's your, how do you look at it?
I think we look at it, and Clay might have a slightly different description, but I think we look at it as a crowdfunding production campaign. So people pay us on a monthly basis to be able to know that they're supporting our content, get physical perks because of that. And then they support us on an ongoing basis. And with those funds, we produce our videos. Say we make $1,000 a month. 70% of that is going to producing these videos. 30% is for us to live, or whatever it might be. And I think a really popular model that we've looked at a lot is the Rooster Teeth model. I don't know if you're familiar with that company.
The which model?
Rooster Teeth.
No, tell me about it, because I've heard that word before, and now I don't know what it means. I don't know what they are. So tell me about that, because
they are an internet production company. They started in early 2000s. They actually used Halo, the video game, sort of as their production. So they made a show out of the video game, and the characters in the game were characters in their production. That's called Red versus Blue. They started that in the early 2000s. And very quickly, that was before YouTube. And so their monetization wasn't ad revenue. Their monetization was subscriptions. And they went extremely viral very quickly. And then from that, they established a whole company that does a huge amount of productions now. But the core of their model has always been their subscriptions. So $5 a month, you support their content. Sort of like Netflix, but specifically for these people to make this content, as opposed to having a huge extensive catalog. And so now, I mean, I don't even know how many shows they produce. They have hundreds of employees, and the core model for them is the on-site subscriptions.
Okay. And so are you, I get that now. So that there's a company here in Florida, a production company called Concrete with a K, and they produce, a show about this guy, Ben Mala, here in Florida, who's like a big real estate investor. And the show is crazy, but anyway, he's got Patreon. He's using a Patreon model for it, where they've got different tiers of supporters to support it, and they get about 300,000, 400,000 views per episode on the show right now. But the guy, it's the guy's a star. That Ben Mala. It's really an interesting thing. So I've just kind of got my eye on what they're doing, But he produces all kinds of different shows and long form content like that. So when I look at you guys, like, what if we were to take a magic wand and wave it over the next 5 years? What would be the dream come true for you guys? Where do you see this going?
I think, and I'd probably like to hear Clay's thought on this too, because again, I think it might be a little bit different. But for me, I want to be in a position where we know that we can put out a video where we do build that WWE ring, and we know that we have a community the size necessary to share that video and sort of leverage that to make the idea possible. So right now, if we were to put out that video, our community would not be big enough to turn sort of our base, our foundation, which is that video, into getting the awareness we need. My dream would be have a community big enough to where if we put something out saying, hey guys, we're trying to do this, our community would fill in the blanks and work with us to make that possible.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll pipe in. Sorry. But yeah, I agree with that and the size of the audience. And then also, on the flip side of that, like Dylan was saying, we have these ideas that are more like awareness based. And so like with the Lemons for Leukemia thing and a couple of the other bigger things that we've done, a lot of those, they had a large platform, like with Lemons for Leukemia, we were on Good Morning America. We had, like, as Dylan was saying, millions of people that were seeing our content whenever we would share something.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's the story. And it's interesting. Like, it's my take on it from looking there, that the first time something like that happens, it's, three, school friends, one guy gets cancer diagnosis, the other two drop everything and throw into helping the third guy reach all his life dreams. That's like a made for TV story, right? Two. So there's a lot of like built in momentum that comes with that, because you weren't a production company, right? And the intentions were 100% pure for your friend, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying in any way that your intentions aren't pure in what you're doing, but now taking it forward, it also has to make money, right? So that's where it gets kind of where the money has to come from.
Yeah, and
somewhere, I think, right?
Kind of connected to that note, we have always had a Patreon, so I think like the introduction of, hey guys, support us monthly. I don't know if that's necessarily a new thing, because we've always had it. Right. Nonetheless, it is still a change of story. But something kind of important to keep in mind, we have always been asking for that, and it's always been like a really important, we made it very clear that even when this was about our friends and the world was giving us incredible opportunities, we still had to pay for like flights and hotels, and we had a huge for as well. So yeah, just a little small thing in relation to
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking as well, is in regards to like, the awareness, a large audience, but then also the funds to be able to do a lot of these bucket list items, because there's some, like we have two people that we're working with now that both have it on their bucket list to visit Hawaii and like do really cool stuff there. And that's just purely a money thing, know? And so having the ability to go, okay, well, we're going to, be able to do this in the near future and create that opportunity. Because the hard part is it's a mix of, there's a timeline with them, or there's varying like times where they're healthier or more able to travel than others. And being able to have more control over like, okay, we'll do this in, let's say 2 or 3 months would be awesome. Like that's kind of another dream come true aspect.
Yeah. So you can, if there's multiple people who Hawaii is on their list, that you could go once to Hawaii and do all these different stories at the same time. Is that what you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be more efficient with it. Got it. Have you, so how much money do you need to make? How much does it, like if we say, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to have, we want to, help people's bucket list dreams come true. We want to film them, produce the videos for it. And so how much money does it take to do that? What kind of...
So
what's the target here?
2,500 to like 3,000 would put us in a comfortable position. That would make it to where we would just feel better about being able to do things. Like going to Hawaii, we could kind of lay low for a month or two and then have resources to make a huge trip. Or, we have a little bit of wiggle room in there to be able to hire someone to edit the videos and just make them a little bit better, things like that. I think ideally to make this in a position where, like it's our full-time job and we are comfortable with committing to it financially and time-wise over the next 5 or so years, probably around 6,000 with the expenses needed to actually, like continue to grow it and things like that would be 6,000 a month. Obviously, more than that would be ideal, but I think sort of those two different thresholds are probably it would be big achievements right now, I think.
Right. And, so part of it is when you start breaking down what actually has to happen, when you've got, to get to that level. You guys are saying like if you could just wave a magic wand right now and have $5,000 or $6,000 a month for the two of you guys, for that would keep you guys afloat, kind of thing, and keep you to be able to dedicate your time to doing this, and then get money raise money also for the actual the bucket list things.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And like the tough part is right now, this is our full time. Like we're focusing on this all the time. And we've yet to take any money from it.
Right.
So yeah, getting somewhere around 6,000 would put us in a position where, we have to be less scrappy for our personal finances, and
right.
Can also still contribute a large amount to be able to help these people and do the things that they, dream of doing.
Okay. So when you separate that out, this 6,000 a month, when you look at this, what what are the kind of economic engines here when we look at what's happening? When you get those, are you running these videos on YouTube? Are they monetized? Are they can you make money that way, or what's happening?
Yeah, in an ideal world, we are pretty much set up to have sort of multiple streams. We are monetized. Right now our views are low, so we don't make any from that.
Right.
But, we're family friendly and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that would definitely be an opportunity. Obviously the crowdfunding, that's a huge revenue stream. And then we also have a couple t-shirts, and we have that entire system set up to where, again, once we get a larger audience, we can sort of onboard them into buying the merch as a revenue stream. And then we've been trying, with no success yet, but trying to work with some sponsors in the typical fashion that you might see on a YouTube video where it says, hey, thanks for watching this video. Just so you know, it's sponsored by blank. Enjoy the video, or whatever it might be. We're definitely open to that. And so I think those are probably like our 4 sort of revenue streams ideally. Yeah. However, right now the biggest bang for our effort and can make the biggest impact is purely focusing on the subscription because it requires less scale to achieve, or at least to see tangible returns from.
Mm-hmm. So part of these things, do you have anybody that you know who's in the sponsorship world who could help with something like that? Like it just seems like if you're doing something like that, you should be able to have a corporate sponsor for, airline tickets and hotels and the thing. Like if you look into what it takes to, pull these off, typically you got to move somebody from somewhere. You got to airline ticket, right, and they have to stay somewhere, kind of thing. That might be a good, kind of sponsorship model, right, that way. But I don't know whether there's a sort of standoffishness on bucket list type of thing, where it's literally they're really potentially sad endings, in that they're all terminal patients, you know?
Yeah, and the
I don't
people
know.
we aren't
something
all,
that,
they aren't all necessarily terminal. Obviously,
okay.
with cancer, they are, the two we're helping now are stage 4. One of them is in remission though, and the
Right.
other was in remission, but it's actually unfortunately just recently been readmitted.
Right.
But yeah, nonetheless, you're right. Yeah, it's definitely a tricky situation for us because you know, we've had that in the past where we were talking to someone and beginning to help them, and then they had passed, and it's a really tough situation.
Man.
Yeah. You know, for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Yeah. And then no matter how great your heart is in these things, there'll always be people who are like turn off that you're just trying to profit from other people's suffering, or that you know what I mean, that kind of a wrong judgment of you. Yeah, you probably run into that now. Right?
Yeah, lots of it.
Yeah. So how do you do that in a way that keeps that purity of the intention and the joy that you're actually bringing for people, in a way that allows you also to, you know, have some ramen noodles once in a while and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think to us creatively, we always try and keep it really genuine, and I think that helps.
Yeah.
We explain to people when we fail. You know, we tell them we failed, and we tell them how that made us feel, and what we're doing because of that failure. You know, even if we had $20 billion a month, it would still be very important to us to keep it casual, to keep it genuine. And even if money wasn't a problem, we would never want to have the production crew. Obviously, we'd want to have help, but we would never want 3 cameras and 2 audio guys and 7 lighting guys and 25 producers and nothing, you know. And I think that helps. I always want people to feel like, well, I mean, the truth is Clay and I, we're average guys. If anything, we're below average. And the people watching this, you know, are similar to us, and they can be a part of this. And I think that we want to do that because that's the truth. That's how we feel. But also, I think it communicates to people, you know, we're kind of all in this together, and your money, you see it, you know, helping it fly us to this place, and we're going to try and make this work, but it might not work, and just watch it happen. be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a amazing. You know, I love the cause, and I love if you think about this rather than you know, one off. I would maybe think about it as a season with 10 episodes kind of thing, or a series where you're not like trying to reinvent the wheel on every one, you know?
Right.
So kind of wrap it around to make it kind of big enough that you could, you know, generate some money around that. Do you know, have you guys heard of Nick Nanton?
I haven't, no.
So he owns DNA Films, and he's a really good friend, and they do documentaries. He's won like 11 Emmys for these documentaries that they do, and they just did one on Joe Polish, and for I do the I Love Marketing podcast with, but they did one. He did a movie about the in Haiti, where it was about human trafficking, and they really, you know, did an amazing job of it. But what he'll do often is he packages up the movie, and he gets and he'll recruit producers for the show, where he'll have, like, you know, business owners kind of thing will fund the movie, and he'll create kind of an experience around it for them, but they get a producer credit on the series, and that kind of covers both things. Like, I think if you look at it, that there might be, especially when you start thinking about the bigger context of who would, if this is done really well, like to be involved in stories about bucket list things, about maximizing your life, about those kind of things, might be a financial advisor in a way, right? That you kind of that brings it, because everybody watching it, thankfully and hopefully, is not going to be in a terminal or a situation that kind of forces them into that, but it may bring them to a position where they are encouraged to really kind of take a look at incorporating all their bucket list things into their life while they're healthy and before they retire and before it's too late, kind of thing.
Right.
That it's all that general, the big picture of it, That I'm just thinking out loud that might be.
That makes sense.
That might be a model, because then it's not just one-off videos. You're thinking about it as a season or a series, and you can do all the funding for, for the one, for one thing, rather than having to perpetually do it.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's something like we've sort of talked about and wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think the problem that is, even if we stopped and said, okay, we're only doing this from October to December, or whatever it might be, that wouldn't necessarily change the resources we have. I think we'd have less time working on videos to, reach out to people and try and do that. But the truth is, like, we still don't have many connections and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it would necessarily solve that. I think that would be an ideal situation to get to. But I think it would still be pretty difficult.
Yes, to me, it seems like a unique packaging, though. Like, just as thinking about it in the sense of, like, like the producer credit stuff, like that with partnering with the business owners, that seems, I don't know. I think that there's, maybe a way to, like the add the funding in there in the sense of, new perks and kind of finite time period. Because that's one thing we've been talking about with sponsors is, with sponsors, do we want them to be annual? Do we want them to be, on a month to month? Like, kind of what's the way we want to do sponsorships there? And so that seems like maybe a good way to add that kind of timeline on it and allow for, okay, we're starting the next season, we can reach out to previous people or things along those lines.
Yeah. And that gives you, I think when you look at it, you can stretch that out as long. I think it feels like that might be a good way to give you some longevity, rather than trying to think about it as one. And especially with corporate sponsorships, like at big levels like that, it's going to be easier for them to write a $50,000 check than a couple of thousand a month or something,
Right.
I think that's really, because a lot of that stuff, you might be thinking too small on for the right kind of sponsors to get on board with. And that's why I wondered if somebody, there might be somebody that could help with that, who knows it, who knows how to have a conversation with the sponsorship division of United Airlines or Southwest or whatever, whoever could be doing something like that, or Holiday Inn or Marriott or whoever, to get those. And you always see it. There must be a division that does that, because you see it all the times, air travel courtesy of Southwest Airlines or whatever, all that way.
Yeah, that's
it's almost like it's almost like, because you're separating the money part of it. If you're almost like you have your funding or that sponsorship handled is different than public support. But maybe that changes the whole dynamic of it too. That maybe the thing is about building out the network, of people. That you're not just about the crowdfunding; it's about the getting the whole message out there. And you start. I think I'm wondering about like things like what is going to be the byproduct of the way people think about these things. Like what's this going to stimulate in people when they watched your story, when they watched the video with your friend, and thankfully had such a great outcome that he got a bone marrow, donor, and he's as good as can be right now. And you got to do all of that bucket list. You got a whole new perspective on life, and he's still alive. That's fantastic, right? That's the best possible outcome. What have people said to you how that affected them?
Yeah, I think just broadly the biggest word would be inspirational. I think they were just inspired by it. I think they kind of more specifically, I think they saw us respond to one of the worst situations you can be dealt with, and because we dealt with it in a way of sort of not necessarily positivity, but we kind of didn't take no for an answer on micro and macro levels. Yeah. If we saw a specific challenge, we would give it a shot anyway. And then, the overarching thing is he was given a year to live, but we kind of, in a way, said no. Obviously, we can't solve cancer, nothing near that. But, we just kept going and we kept trying just because we just kind of needed to. And I think people were inspired to that because they realized that maybe they were going through a really crappy situation. And because of that, maybe if they just keep going, not because of some spiritual awakening or external motivation, but just because we're kind of all going through it. If they keep going through it, maybe they'll get their donor, whatever that might be in their situation. I think that's what people have gotten from it. They realize that there's a really real, genuine way to overcome challenges, and I think they watch that through us. At least that's what's coming to mind now. There's a lot of different responses, but I think that's
Yeah, that's definitely one that we've seen be like. We did a survey yesterday of a very small audience, just people kind of within our, kind of within our community and whoever would answer. But one thing that stood out to me was people, they would say, like, in the inspiration sense, it's the biggest thing was us overcoming obstacles, because in our videos, we talk a lot about, like, we'll have things like, there was one video where we were invited for a TED Talk, and then it got canceled, and we made a video because, Dillon ended up, plane tickets were already booked and so forth. And so it's, flew out there and got involved with some charitable event going on. And it's just well, since I'm out here, I'm going to do this stuff. And people really liked that. And we've had a couple of things like that where it's here's our plan fell through, and now we recover and do something awesome. We did another video of free hugs where we were supposed to go to a children's hospital. They last minute stopped responding. And so we went to San Jose State University and just gave out free hugs during finals week. And people loved that video. And so it's that seems like a consistent theme of people really caring about, seeing despite the failures, how do we overcome it? Because we had one video where we didn't overcome it, and people were like, oh, you guys are going to overcome it. Oh, this, there was a very different response.
The end of our video was us just sitting there talking about how disappointed we were, because we genuinely were. We had no motivation to keep going in that case. And a couple comments and emails and stuff said oh, you guys are messing with this, huh? You actually did it. When's it going to happen? Kind of thing. No, guys, we're tired.
It's almost a sad, it's almost a sad commentary, though, right? That we're so used to the Hollywood ending of things that know, when we're talking about, like, we want human drama and we want this, we crave these things, but only if it wraps up with a nice bow at the end, and I remember Tony Robbins had a series on TV that was only on for a few shows, and before it got taken over by like celebrity, Dancing with the Stars or some crazy thing. But he would take people who had like seemingly insurmountable challenges and things that were like, really like, bringing you down and helping them break through their challenges. Do you guys ever remember seeing that show or seeing or hearing about it? Because it wasn't on very long, so it'd be a miracle if you did. But
I don't remember it. No.
Right, but it was just like such a meaningful show, and yet, America kind of, voted with its viewership that they'd rather watch Dancing with the Stars, or it was something equally silly. I don't think it was Dancing with the Stars specifically, but it was some just like silliness kind of thing, that this was ended up being replaced by. And it just, I wonder about that as the, how it's kind of like a moving sidewalk moving in the opposite direction kind of thing, right? There's all of these little things queuing up for it. Yeah. And that's where I think that having the right, it feels like definitely the sponsor kind of way is the way to go, unless you can, or in addition to making it sort of like a Make-A-Wish foundation type of alignment. Have you talked to them or been involved in any way with them?
We've reached out through, we don't have any like mutual connections or anything, so we've just done some cool outreach and haven't gotten much back. And we have looked at them and tried to get some, I guess, like contextual inspiration and ideas and whatnot. No major conclusion.
No, I was just going to say, Joe Polish and I have done some work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, like with the corporate, at the corporate level, like helping them with some marketing things. And that may be, maybe something that we could facilitate kind of an introduction that way. But I'm just thinking out loud of how to like align what you're doing, because really for you guys, it's almost like what your passion is really about doing the stuff and documenting the journeys and making these bucket list dreams come true for people. And I think what you're really struggling with is now the business of that, of trying to turn it into a business, because it doesn't sound like you're trying to get rich on this. You're not trying to like turn it into a blockbuster moneymaker. You sound like you have very modest sort of ambitions for initially, that you want to do it as something that can sustain you and give you meaningful work, Yeah. That's my take on it. Does that sound right?
It does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just thinking now, if my mind goes through my like mental model of how to, who to model this after, I think about Steve Sims. Do you know Steve Sims? Wrote Blue Fishing. He owns the high-end concierge service that essentially it's like bucket list stuff for rich people, like if you can think of it and afford it, he can make it happen. Like if you want to go, to the space station, or you want to go scuba diving with James Cameron at the Titanic. If you want to, he had clients who shut down the museum where the David is, and had a private dinner at the feet of the David statue, and had a just anything you can think of like that. He makes happen. I would recommend his book, actually, Blue Fishing. And I did a More Cheese Less Whiskers episode with him too.
Okay.
But this guy, I was thinking about that, of how, of getting, you starting to think like people like that as advisors for you.
Yeah.
To start to think like what their take would be on it. I mean, I kind of, think there's so much, I'm just looking at and pulling from the way that these guys, they each have a piece of what could be a workable model for you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we take it from the, if you take the big pieces of this, it's finding people who have the bucket list items, I guess, right? Do you have no shortage of those? You're able to get, do you hear from?
We've had some trouble with, we've found a couple of people, like we have another gentleman that's kind of in the works now. But we've reached out to a couple of like cancer societies and so forth that work with families and, people that are either with terminal cancer or currently going through it or so forth. And we've been having trouble. They seem really interested. And then I don't know if it's just, maybe not exactly what they're focusing on or their priority, but they kind of fall off. So it's, we've been able to find enough people to, help and keep us, a consistent flow of things to, work on and help them, achieve. But in regards to having like kind of a list of people that we would love to help, we haven't been able to compile that yet. It's just a matter of, I guess, increasing in importance and urgency in the minds of some of these people at the, like local cancer societies and so forth that could connect us with those families.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I mean, is that an important part of this for you, that it's this specific idea? Like if we just take, often one of the things I talk about is the sort of mechanical outcome of it, that basically what you're looking is, if we just take what you're actually doing is you're, producing filmed content and, that's inspiring. Is it that idea particularly that is the most interesting to you, or is there another or other ideas that you would like to do the same thing? Is it the actual doing of it, or is it that idea?
I think for me, at least, the important part is the idea of making stuff for YouTube. We both grew up where that was a huge thing for us. Sort of personalities and stuff. And we would like to be in a position where, it's like we're sort of like a genuine inspiration. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that it's just really fake and stuff. We'd like to be sort of genuine, and I think YouTube's a good place to do that. And then kind of the other side is I think that we both want to help people in a real way. We don't want to do any like superficial, like just taking a selfie at the food kitchen and then calling it a day. Like we genuinely want to impact people, both our viewers and the people that we're spending time with. The specific situation of helping people with cancer isn't necessarily I mean, it's important to us because we want to help these people, but not necessarily important in that, like, we couldn't find other types of situations to help in the way that we do help.
And we've thought about that before. We started, like, we had like another name for a business at one point called, I think it was Third Frame Media or Third Frame Productions or something, but it was like about us tackling like, you know, other issues that, you know, it was that whole like kind of 5-year plan of like, as this gets bigger, we'll move into other things and be able to, you know, and it was like things like bringing
like one of them,
and what it was like like victims of like school shootings, and then another one was like people in like, you know, like domestic violence or, you know, things like that. It's a little bit different than like helping people.
It is important to say that but none of these things we're qualified to be talking about. But
yeah, we're not qualified to talk about any of them, but we thought about telling like kind of their stories and stuff. So like in regard to answer your question, I think that our true passion is using, you know, kind of the resource that is the internet and its breadth that is, you know, so readily accessible for more like social good. You know, like there's a lot of people on YouTube that are monetizing their channels and have 2 million subscribers, and they just like, they don't really make meaningful content. It doesn't add to people's lives. And there are people that do that also. It's not like we're the first one, but you know, we want to
doing it right.
That
who's doing it right in your, like, if you could point to a model that you're like, that would be me. Like if we take, you know, Jake and Logan Paul on one end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I would say that it's kind of like what you were saying earlier, where there's like a couple of different models mixed together that I can see of like them doing aspects of it, right? That you're kind of pulling from, where it's like, for instance, there's like, go ahead.
There's a lot of people that are making like genuinely good content. Like they care about it, and, you know, it's impactful to them and it's impactful to their viewers. I can't necessarily think of people that are making content specifically about helping people, but like I think Clay was about to go on. There's a lot of inspirations that we draw from and sort of kind of mix them together. There's some channels that are just brutally honest with their emotions, and, you know, we take some of that. There's some people that so that would be like, it's called Sugar Pine 7. It's actually a subsidiary of Rooster Teeth. They are very genuine with their feelings. There's also a channel called Yes Theory, where their tag is seek discomfort, and they just try to new things and try to think outside the box and just have fun with life, kind of thing. And then there's another channel called Mr. Beast. We actually he has very big ideas. Oh, perfect. Yeah. His model makes no sense, but it's really interesting content.
Give away money. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then
I saw
there's
something they were, you know, thinking about he doesn't know who's responsible for paying the taxes on the money that he's giving away.
That.
Yeah, that's kind of like he could be screwed right now with all the
right.
And he like does. Yeah, I saw that. That was on like the H3 podcast or whatever it was. But that was fun. That was funny to listen to. But yeah, he's like another inspiration in the sense of, we actually recently sent him. We wanted to work with him because he seems like somebody that could really help create some awesome opportunities, and somebody that would like to collaborate with it and does kind of like, you know, he's bought homeless people houses. You know, like he's done some pretty charitable stuff. And so we sent him. We have limited resources, but we thought, okay, how do we get his attention? And so we sent him 50,000 almonds because we were like, what's the cheapest thing that we could buy that we could get a lot of? Because he does that where he's like, I put 1 million Orbeez in my backyard or whatever.
Right.
And we got his editor to tweet about it, but he hasn't said anything back to us yet. Yeah, but it was like, you know, that he and Yes Theory and Sugar Pine 7, they all have aspects of like, you know, the things that we think they are doing right in some capacity, and we just want to mix those together and then funnel it.
And then more importantly, I think things that like we don't feel like they're doing well, not that they're doing it bad, but like
that we want to be different.
Fit into our dream. Yeah. So like Yes Theory, they you know, they'll do something where they'll blindfold themselves and then throw a dart at a map and then go to wherever it lands.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, and they make great content. But our thing is like, okay, how could we do something like that, where it's like this idea of trying something new and spontaneity, but in a way that helps people, you know, like genuinely helps people. Like changes a cancer patient's life, really.
Yeah.
You know, and with like Sugar Pine 7, they make really good content. They're really genuine with their feelings, but it's kind of for like no reason. Like they just kind of make videos to make videos that don't have like an overarching message.
Yeah.
You know, and the Mr. Beast, like, I mean, he's in a whole world of his own, just giving out hundreds of thousands of dollars. But, you know, it's like, okay, what if, you know, we took the idea of like buying a homeless person a house, but we spent a little bit more time on the emotional aspect of it. And we talked about how, you know, this homeless person now has a home base to get job and do this. And then what if we checked in with them in 2 weeks and, you know, like just made it a little bit more personal for the people we're helping, as opposed to just the randomness of this Mr. Beast. But I think there's a bunch of different people. And what's been hard for us is we can't really nail down a specific person. And so it's hard to, you know, like just kind of follow in someone's footsteps and say, okay, they did this, so let's do that too. It's been a lot of kind of Frankensteining stuff together. And
are you guys you're both in Sacramento?
Yep.
Yeah. You know, part of the thing is what I'm, because you're kind of, you know, thinking, you're trying to just kind of get by here on right now with this stuff, is one of the thoughts that I might have is thinking about how could you make an impact in Sacramento in a way as a model for, you know, that maybe that season could be, if you're thinking about that you're going to do and document creating a culture of kindness or a culture of, you know, giving or support or whatever in Sacramento over the course of a year, and document, like looking for things that you actually have access to, like, you know, because right now traveling to Hawaii and traveling to doing things like that is more, you don't have the resources for it, you know?
Yeah.
But what you do have the resources for is you've got you guys, right? And you're there, and there's a lot of people in Sacramento. There's a lot of really those kinds of stories right there in Sacramento that could get.
My initial thought there, and I'd love to get your thoughts, but with our current paid subscribers, I don't know. I wouldn't want. I'd be nervous about sort of like changing the direct mission, if that makes sense. Like, I think a majority.
How much money how much is your Patreon up to now?
We actually don't use Patreon. It's kind of like a hybrid of Patreon and our website right now, but it's $900 a month is where it's at. Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, that's really, you're, I mean, you're just kind of getting started here, right? So I wouldn't be worried about that you're still, I'm just thinking about that as a way to create some imprint, you know, when I would listen to Joe Polish and I did a I Love Marketing episode with Damon John on the power of broke. And that's what you guys are at right now, the power of broke. You're in a situation where you've got all this ambition, you've got the skills, you've got the, you know, you've got an established kind of initial track record, right? You're on the path, you're on that trajectory, but it's about now biting off something that is able, you know, to further what you want to do, but do it in a manageable way, you know, with a bigger eye. And you guys, how old are you guys?
I'm 20. Clay's 21.
21. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys you're so young, it's ridiculous, you know, that this kind of thing, like if you just think about this as a ramp up, like it expands your thinking when you can have expansive thinking within the borders kind of thing of Sacramento. And I know it sounds like limiting, or it sounds like you're throttling back, but I think you're going to have the amplified impact by artificially constraining one piece of it, Like part of the thing we always talk about, like profit activator number one is select a single target market, And I think if you're thinking about if everything that you are about initially here, always with your eye to the big picture, is more focused, then I think and you're not doing it only for a local audience. Like you're not just doing it for just so people in Sacramento watch it. You do it for a global audience that everybody can watch in, but you've selected like Sacramento as the place to create a model of what contribution could look like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it's about, is that if you take, rather than it being about, cancer stories or those types of things, it's about rallying for contribution. Like the big story is what you were able to do to mobilize 11,000 people to become bone marrow donors, and that, think of how many lives that could ultimately save. That is like that, when you're looking backwards on your bucket list, if we're fast forwarding, 80 years from now, and you guys are sitting at 99 and 100, looking back over your lives, if you could just trace back and see how many lives were saved by the 11,000 blood donors that are bone marrow donors that you were able to rally, that's like, not many people ever get that kind of impact in the world, So it's like admirable what you guys are really doing there.
Well, thank you.
But to look at it but you look at it in the big picture, right? Like I at 21, I started out my real estate career at 21, 1988. And I remember I was looking back now, it's been 30 years, since I started my my real estate career. And, I look back on this whole 30 years, how it seems like it was just yesterday, but I look back and I think for the first 8 years of my career here, I was just a residential real estate agent in a suburb of Toronto. That was 8 years of that, right? The first 8 years. And I start to realize when you're looking forward, 8 years feels like a long, long time. I mean, that's your entire, you think that back, if you were from 12 to now for you guys, it's like,
it's like
that's like your whole half of your life. Exactly. So you don't even have a context for it, But I think, man, if that was like, if you guys were almost took like the Beatles approach, that you're if it's about this kind of thing, you're owning your craft. It's almost like the Hamburg years for the Beatles, where they spent, I don't know how many years they spent in Germany just playing 8 hours a day at a club,
Right.
To start thinking about, if you were to think about this in terms of 1 or 2 seasons of, taking this kind of creativity and thinking and applying it with that contribution model to Sacramento, I think there's really something that you've got there. If there's a website, there's a company called Deluxe, Deluxe, I think, and they do printing and supplies for businesses, and they have a web series where they pick a small town and they spend a year each season of the show is in this one small town, and they go in and they pick, some of the small businesses there, and they've got like Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank comes in, and it's a web series, but all they're doing is helping local businesses in the downtowns of small town America. And that kind of vibe, I think, might be a nice model here,
Yeah, that makes sense.
For you, just to kind of watch that and see, because that will get, people rallied around you guys and kind of build some hometown kind of pride around that, and if you're doing it for a global audience, it may be that the crowd gets to nominate or submit their town to be the next town,
Yeah, I like that. And then also it gives us, we've had a lot of news coverage in our local area as well. And so maybe it gives us the opportunity to leverage more of that and kind of grow within kind of the foundation that's been built to some extent.
Yeah. That's what I mean, is because it's just so much when the whole world is your, you can definitely broadcast to your whole world, but you can really, in Sacramento, you can be a lighthouse, just beam the signal right from there and attract people to it.
Yeah.
By the intensity of it, rather than taking your torch and trying to run from town to town. Yeah. And that's kind of, I think that's really the best thing. I mean, I think that's kind of where we've come around, because it sounds like that's the most useful thing for you guys, is really trying to dial in on what the model is,
Yeah, and in the context of like the 8 profit activators, we were looking at that, and it seemed like, on what you're saying, a lot of it seems as though it's kind of within the first 3 that has been our problem. Getting having the target audience. We were discussing that. We've discussed it multiple times since we kind of went through it, and we're like, all right, what is exactly our target audience? And then also it's the whole, what's a direct response offer to get them to raise their hand, and that's been kind of the thing that we've recognized going through that as being one of the more, like, once people get into our ecosystem, it's very easy, but it's just getting people there.
Yeah.
So that,
And that's part of the thing. What makes all of those things easier is really being crystal clear on what the dream come true is, right? Like that's why I'll start with you guys. What's your dream come true? Like, what is the actual product or service that people are going to be exchanging money for? That's really what has to drive it. And I think when you look at that kind of a model, I think that'll make the other things easier to figure out.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So what's your take? What's your in our conversation here?
Well, I think the first one is to, a lot of people have sort of mentioned that, the idea of like not closing ourselves off, but kind of narrowing our focus a little bit. Not focus, but like locale, like you had mentioned, not trying to go to Hawaii next month. It's probably a good idea.
Right.
I think my initial kind of thoughts and concerns there are some failures we've had locally in the past that or like make that scary, like fully committing to a place that hasn't shown us very much feedback, at least to the scale that, our internet audience has. So for example, we recently rented out an entire movie theater here in town so that cancer patients could watch Avengers Endgame for free.
Yeah.
And we were on 2 of the 3 biggest local news channels here in town. And, it was free tickets to the highest grossing film of all time. And we'd we'd reach out to these cancer societies, and we reached out to some people we knew. Like, we put in a good effort into making it possible. And we had booked all the tickets. So like we essentially sold out, even though it was free. We
had it on Eventbrite. And everyone registered.
Everyone registered. So all the seats were filled. But the day of, only about 10 people showed up.
Wow.
And so, hearing like the idea of, just stay in Sacramento, it's like, okay, yeah, we do have more resources, and it does make sense that we need to sort of lower our realm. But at the same time, it was we just haven't seen a lot of success. So it's sort of a big leap.
I got it.
To do that, so
hey, I heard, hang on one second. I heard, is that Nick? Are you on?
I'm here.
There he is. Hey guys, when we were talking, I was texting Nick Nanton while we were on. I just see if he could jump on the line here real quick. And Nick is a guy who may be able to add something to the conversation here. So we'll go in a little extra innings here.
Awesome.
Nick, thank you. Thanks for jumping in. And these guys are in Sacramento, California, and they've done a really nice video. They did a whole little documentary about their friend. They had a childhood friend that they grew up with who ended up getting diagnosed with terminal cancer, and they dropped everything and they created this, followed him around, did all the things on his bucket list, and it got, really nice momentum. How many views did you guys say you ended up on this?
Last I checked, it was just slightly over 100 million. Not on our
total impressions,
but
total views on the things. And so now they're creating a little. They want to make these sort of documentaries about helping people live out their bucket list things, and they've done some really nice work. But I thought we were talking about sponsorships and we're talking about how they may be able to get some of these things funded, and I was kind of sharing a little bit about what you do, and I thought maybe you might be able to add some kind of advice for us.
Got it. So the people you did it once, obviously you got a ton of views. The people you're going to now and you're sort of documenting their bucket list, if I'm getting it right, these people are now just like, is it a way to document them achieving a goal? I mean, I assume you're not working with only people who have terminal illnesses, right? It's just people who are documenting.
Our thing is helping people with cancer.
Okay.
So I would say about 50% of it is sort of our journey to do that. So like what we do to, make an item possible. And then obviously the payoff is a huge part of seeing cancer patients experience something that they want to experience.
Okay. And so you guys are documenting, so you guys are making the experience happen too. So it's sort of like you're doing Make-A-Wish sort of on your own, right?
Yep. But it's more of like a series in the sense of they cross off multiple of them over a period of time.
Okay. And so the series, give me an idea of like, is it like an 8-part series where 5 people are being helped, but you covered over 8 parts, or is it like 3 people per episode, or sort of give me an idea there?
Right now,
each episode is, sorry, go ahead, Dillon.
Sorry. Right now we're helping 2 people with onboarding a third basically, and essentially we just kind of make a video every period of time that gets us a little bit closer to doing a specific thing for them. So for example, sometimes we'll focus on raising awareness for like a specific item, and then 2 months down the line the payoff of that will happen. Or there's sort of micro level where we package the entire story together in one narrative. And the payoff is within that video. But it's sort of the content is around us focusing on helping the specific people we're helping. Right now it happens to be 2 different people with 36 items on each of their bucket lists.
I did mention to Nick about treating it like a series. Like one of the things that we did talk about was ramping it up, putting a boundary on it, like really packaging it as we're going to do 10 episodes of this and really kind of think about that arc, because right now the funding that they're doing is a Patreon-like model, like a donor viewer supported thing. And I mentioned that, one of the things they may be able to do is find businesses or individuals who would be like a producer credit or funded, kind of the way you fund things, and or maybe even corporate sponsors.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that I think is going to be harder than some of the things that I do. Obviously, if you're focusing, I'd have to see how it's done. But if you're focusing on yourself, as part of the thing, it's going to be a bit more of an argument on why you need someone else's money to do something. Just because, if you were focusing just on the other people, like, hey, me go tell their story, I think there's still a way to do it, because it's like, hey, help me help these people achieve their bucket list item. But you've obviously got to address the situation of like, why it's focused on you, unless you're building a nonprofit where you're trying to, this is all you're going to do. And so, it's a nonprofit. Here's how it works. Here's our, we're 501c3, and our mission is to go around the world and help all these people achieve their dreams. I think that would be the easiest way to get like ongoing support, by having people pay, whether it would be to just support each film, or you have people who, ideally you follow like the sort of standard nonprofit model where you have people join, a board, and they're paying, they're giving you X thousands of dollars a year to be on the board, and they get certain perks and benefits, but a lot of that money goes to fund all these different films and things they get to do. And then of course, yes, if you're involving bigger brands, then you perhaps will be able to get some product or money or experiences from them. But I just hearing the very initial cursory glance at it, I think the sort of the objection you'll have to overcome will be, focusing on yourself as part of the video, and why you're doing that, and why you need someone else's money to do that.
Mm-hmm. That's wise. So this is kind of a, we had a whole, big conversation about the model. They're trying to figure this out. They had the great outcome with their friend. They actually, they set a world record for getting bone marrow donors. They got over 11,000 bone marrow donors through their efforts, and it ended up that their friend actually found a donor, and is so far so good, clear. And we were just talking literally just before you dialed in, how looking back now, when they're 100, looking back, these guys are 20 and 21 years old, but looking back, over how many lives will have been potentially saved from those 11,000, bone marrow donors over a lifetime is just like, that's a bucket list to look back on, in a bucket list of accomplishment, right? And that's something that you feel just like even the work that you do, Nick. I was telling them about the human trafficking and the orphanages and the things. So much of your stuff is movement based stuff, and so I thought of you immediately to maybe give them some advice. But
absolutely, and I think the thing is, you just got to all you're, and I don't mean to come at it from a wrong angle, because perhaps I have, but you really have to be able to convince people, of what you're doing and why, and saying, hey, look, I'm trying to achieve something. I'm trying to accomplish this goal, and I can't do it on my own. Right. I mean, that's where you got to start. And so I'm looking for people to help. And so here's what I'm trying to do. If it moves you, if it's something you want to get involved in, then here's what I will do for you in order to make it worth your while to support me and my mission. So it's sort of like whenever I talk to my friends who are raising money for anything, like, people raising money, $1 million to open a restaurant or $5 million to do whatever. I typically, if I can get to them early enough, I try to say, hey, look, the smartest thing I think you could do is be very conservative on your returns. Because look, here's the deal. If you're trying to raise $2 million and run a business and do all this stuff, that's going to have to pay for you and your employees. And like, you're like taking huge risks and you want to make money, and you want me to donate 50 grand with it, or not donate, you want me to invest 50 grand. Okay. Well, if you're raising $2 million, 50 grand is not a huge portion of it. So the problem is most investors think I'm going to put in $50,000 and I'm going to get rich. Like that's their dream. Like, I'm going to get $5 million back. And the chances of that ever happening are not good, because again, this person who's raising the money from, multiple investors, and again, then they have to build a business, do all the work, pay their employees, and try to make money too. Like the returns just aren't going to be great on my 50 grand. And if they would just say, here's the deal, Nick, we're trying to raise this money. If you'll put in 50 grand, here's all the benefits we're going to give you. If it's a restaurant, it might be, you can bring your family once a month. You can get a black card. So when you come in, you can bring clients. You can, here's your benefits you're going to get. And here's the deal. If you help us now, if we make it, when it's your turn, we'll help you too. Like when you go to raise some money, but instead of like this pitch of like, hey, give us money and we're going to make these wild returns, because it's not going to happen. I'll be so much more likely to give them money if they just gave me value for the money I'm giving them and sort of let me look past the return. It's like, hey, look, we're going to try to make your money back, of course. Are you going to get rich? Probably not. But here's what we're going to do for your 50 grand. Here's what we're going to do. So even if you didn't get your 50 grand in cash back and the business went bust after 3 years, you would feel like you got your money's worth. And I always approach every time I'm trying to get money like that. Like, I'm going to make it so worth your while that even if you never got any money back out of this thing, you would be like, I'd do that again. And in fact, I do that. I mean, I don't sell investments in any of my films. People just pay for the experience, but I give them far more value than what they're paying. And that's why I have people do it with me over and over again. So I just think if you would approach it, if you think of it that way, like, what's the value I can provide to the people coming in order for them to give me what I need, which is, cash through the project, how can I make it irresistible for these people to give me that way?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Cool. Yeah.
That's
thank you for
great.
that.
Nick, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you.
That's really good. Yeah.
Waking up.
All good. I just woke up in Vegas. There you go. So I'll be back right up here. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Take care, guys.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That's awesome. I'm glad that worked out. I texted him maybe when we were, halfway through, but for him to be able to jump in, that's great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and he's very aware and intellectual for how early it must be for him. He said he just woke up.
Right, exactly.
he was really giving a lot of value there.
Yeah. So, well, that was very exciting. I mean, I think you guys have you got a lot of potential. I think it really is about figuring out what the model's going to be, but just being able to focus on making that impact. I think
yeah.
I do think like it's on. And again, it's not, when you think about the number of people that came for the Avengers thing, that it's hard to not get discouraged with that. But if you think about the people that are there, that may be, there could potentially be 10 episodes right there with those 10 stories. So it's
Right.
not about that and that's the kind of thing, is the magnitude things, is that you're really, everything good that's happened to you so far has been because you were 100% focused on one thing, which was your friend and that bucket list. You weren't thinking about it as a business. And this is where, as soon as you start thinking about it as a bigger thing, the only reason that you're disappointed with the 10, because that's 10 times bigger impact than what you had with your one friend, is because your vision is thousands of people, right? Or millions of people. And in the context of that, it's seemingly disappointing. But if you look at it from the other way, it's 10 times more impact than you had with just your friend.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's the thing, is, really going in and honing that storytelling ability,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you guys it's been awesome. I mean, that's we went a little longer than we expected, but not every
thank
day
you for your time.
11 times Emmy-winning director, producer calling in on the line here on demand. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was awesome. And thank you for contacting him. That was good, and get an interesting take.
Nice surprise.
Yeah. Well, I'll connect you guys by email, because that I'm sure he'd love to see the stuff that you're up to, and he'd be a good guy for you to know. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, guys. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
And there we have it. Another great episode. Thanks for listening in. If you want to continue the conversation, we'll go deeper in how the 8 profit activators can apply to your business. 2 things you can do. Right now, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and you can download a copy of the More Cheese Less Whiskers book, and you can listen to the back episodes, of course, if you're just listening here on iTunes. Secondly, the thing that we talk about in applying all of the 8 profit activators are part of the breakthrough DNA process. And you can download a book and a scorecard and watch a video all about the 8 profit activators at breakthroughdna.com. And that's a great place to start the journey in applying this scientific approach to growing your business. That's really the way we think about Breakthrough DNA, as an operating system that you can overlay on your existing business and immediately look for insights there. So that's it for this week. Have a great week, and we will be back next time with another episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers.